He's one of the biggest celebrities, full stop, in early national Philadelphia. A hero.
A murderer, extremely well respected.
Against the established order of the day.
Narrow-minded.
He's pretty convinced that he's a secular religious figure, for want of a better term, a god.
Benjamin Rush was born in 1745 in the northeast corner of Philadelphia County. His father died. Rush was just 5. He was sent to Maryland to live with his uncle, an evangelical preacher. Reverend Samuel Finley inculcated Rush with a revivalist spirit and urged him to become a doctor. He studied medicine at Princeton, interned at Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia, and set out for advanced study at Edinburgh, Scotland in 1765.
He was one of the many physicians from Philadelphia that went to Edinburgh for an education, which made him an elite physician. At the time, it was the best medical school in the world.
There, Rush also gained exposure to new political currents then swirling about the city. On his return to Philadelphia in 1769, he became involved in the movement for independence, writing pamphlets on liberty and the abolition of slavery.
People like Benjamin Rush are becoming part of what in the 18th century is called a republic of letters. It's the closest thing the 18th century would get to what we would call a meritocracy.
In 1775, he urged his friend Thomas Paine to publish a pamphlet calling the American colonists to revolution. Paine wanted to call his manifesto Plain Truth, but Rush suggested a different name, Common Sense.
I like to think of Benjamin Rush as one of the great American polymaths. He has interests and ambitions as a statesman. He's a great medical authority. He's a reformer. He's someone who seems to have his hands in every possible part of American social and political life.
In January of 1776, Rush married Julia Stockton, the daughter of his friend Richard Stockton of Princeton. 6 months later, he signed the Declaration of Independence.
During the Revolution, he became head of the medical department of the Middle States, and there's a lot of jockeying for position.
Rush was angered by the poor condition of Army field hospitals and began a letter-writing campaign to his superiors, assailing General George Washington and Chief Army Surgeon William Shippen as unfit leaders. Frustrated by opposition to his ideas, Rush resigned in disgust and returned to Philadelphia, taking a position at Pennsylvania Hospital and becoming active in the abolitionist community.
He's a member of the Pennsylvania Abolition Society. But Benjamin Rush is also interested in his standing as a racial reformer.
Think about Rush's standing. You're already a part of the American elite. There were a number of people now in that time who professed the same things that Rush did, that all human beings were created equal, but really didn't want to live that out and didn't want those close relationships.
Despite his expressed abolitionism, Rush purchased a man named William Grubber in 1776 and enslaved him for 10 years. He wrote that he believed dark skin to be a form of contagious leprosy. Yet, he remained a staunch financial supporter of the free black community of Philadelphia.
It was a complicated relationship. Rush was a great benefactor. And I think Rush kind of saw the handwriting on the wall as well, that rather than America moving forward toward a place where we could really all be one, that quickly it was unraveling and we were going into separate corners.
In 1793, yellow fever devastated Philadelphia, killing thousands. While many fled the city, Rush stayed behind, treating more than 100 patients a day, using a controversial treatment regimen of bloodletting, mercury laxatives, and induced perspiration. In the midst of the epidemic, Rush amplified his efforts by imploring his allies in the free black community to mobilize hundreds of African Americans as nurses to carry out his so-called heroic treatments.
His ideas were all connected. His medical treatment, his political views, his social views, you could call it almost a Republican treatment. Anybody could do this if they were properly trained.
Rush's treatments caused fierce divisions within the medical community, prompting him to resign his founding membership in the College of Physicians, rather than alter his method of bleeding and purging.
What I think about Benjamin Rush is someone who is profoundly wrong, but in a way that allows other people to be right.
After the fever passed, Rush committed himself to the study of psychiatry. As the chief of the mental ward at Pennsylvania Hospital, he infused his medical practice with Calvinist teachings, emphasizing occupational therapy to cure mental disorders. In 1812, he published the first American textbook on mental illness.
How would you summarize the values of people like Benjamin Rush? No matter how inconsistently or imperfectly they actually in their own lives lived these values, what they're fundamentally saying is that no one person is born to a position of authority over another person.
We do have to see him as the man of his time. His dedication to the betterment of Philadelphia and America. He was very drawn to that idea that America was a destined country.
Rush continued to treat patients regularly until he was finally bedridden by respiratory problems in April of 1813. He accepted treatments of bloodletting for several days before he died at the age of 67. Dr. Benjamin Rush and his wife Julia are interred at the Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia.